Hey guys, Mimi here. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a sew along to one of my fall patterns, 9381, which is a really amazing double-breasted suit. We're going to start by sewing the pants and short view, which is view B and C. We're going to be doing the pants. Now, if you're new to sewing or you just need a refresher course, I do have a sewing basics video, which is linked in the description box below. You can watch that and then come back and sew along with me. If you're a total newbie or you want to learn to sew, I will say this is not a learn to sew video. And in that case, I suggest visiting sewitacademy.com and signing up for the free trial. The first 5 courses are completely free and no credit card is required. All right, guys, are you ready? Let's get started. All right, guys, we're working on 9381. We're going to be making the pants or the shorts, view B or C. The only difference is the cutting line on the pattern, but the construction is the same whether you're doing the pants or the shorts. On the back of the envelope, as usual, you will find a list of suggested fabrics and any notions that you're going to need. For the pants, we're going to need one 7-inch zipper and one 5/8 of an inch button. Now let's go over the pattern pieces that you need to cut. All right, you're going to cut pattern piece number 22. This is our fly. You're going to be cutting one of fabric and one of interfacing. You're going to be cutting out pattern piece number 23. This is the underlap. You're going to cut one. You're going to cut out pattern piece number 20. This is your pocket facing. You're going to cut out 2. Now, depending on the weight of your fabric that you're using for your pants, you may want to cut this out of a thin lining so that your pocket is not bulky. Pattern piece number 21 is the yoke, front, and pocket. So you're going to cut out 2. Pattern piece number 26 is our waistband. You're going to cut out one of fabric and one of interfacing. Then you're going to cut out pattern piece number 24. This is the back of our pants, and you're going to cut 2. And then pattern piece 19, which is the front of our pants, and you're also going to cut out 2. Once you get everything cut out and interfaced, we can start sewing. All right, guys, before we get started, you should know to do your stay stitching and also go ahead and make the back darts of your pants. So for both your back pant pieces, you should have your darts already done and pressed. Now go ahead and grab your front piece. Okay, so we're going to start on one pant leg. You're basically going to duplicate the same thing on the other pant leg. Now, if you're wondering why I have this pin here, this is actually a quick little tip. My fabric is the same on both sides. I can't tell which side is the right side and which side is the wrong side. So I like to pin, I like to put a pin on the right side or whatever right side I'm choosing so that I always know what side I'm working on and I don't accidentally do 2 lefts or 2 rights. So you're going to grab your front pant. We're first going to make our pleats. This is very simple. You're going to be making them towards the pocket. And you should have had your notches marked. So you're just going to, or your lines, however you chose to do it. You're going to bring one line to the next line. And you're going to pin it. And then look for your other 2 markings. Bring the line to the other line. And pin it. Okay, and what you're going to do is you're just going to head over to your sewing machine and you're going to stitch all the way across just to secure your pleats in place. Once I do that, I can go ahead and remove my marker because I will know that this is the right side because the pleats are facing my pocket. Okay, once you have your pleats done, we're going to go ahead and start on our pocket. So you're going to grab your pocket facing. You're going to match it up, matching up your notches first and pin. You're going to take this to your sewing machine. You're going to stitch this using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Then I want you to trim your seam allowance by half and understitch. Okay, so I went ahead and understitched. I also went ahead and top stitched a 1/4 inch from the fold. And now we're going to go ahead and add our pocket and pocket facing. So you're just going to lay this over the top. I like to do this with the wrong side facing me so that I can make sure that I'm aligning my pocket really well. So I'm just going to go ahead and pin my pocket and my pocket facing together. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to sew our pocket and our pocket facing together. So you're going to stitch using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance all the way around. You're only sewing your pocket and your pocket facing together, okay? Don't make sure that your pant is completely out of the way. All right, once our facing and our pocket and our pocket facing are sewn together, I'm going to turn this to the right side because I need to make sure that the pocket is laying really flat. Okay, so now that it's really flat, nothing is buckling, I'm going to go ahead and pin so I can hold this in place. I also like to pin in the middle of the pocket and then the side. So now you're just going to baste the very top and the side. So you're going to baste across so that this is nice and secure, not going to shift. And then you're going to baste along the bottom, making sure that you're sewing through all layers and catching your pocket. All right, you're going to go ahead and finish your other front pant leg and pocket the same exact way. Now we're going to go ahead and start on our fly front. So go ahead and grab your fly and your zipper. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and place our fronts right sides facing, pin at my dot. Now you might notice that my center fronts are already serged. I do that ahead of time because once you put your fly, you don't wanna have to fiddle too much trying to serge and finish off a raw edge. So I just go ahead and finish my raw edges on each pant front, and I also do it for my pant back. So now we're going to go ahead and stitch from the end of the crotch using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance up to our dot, back stitch at the dot, and break your thread. Okay, you're going to go ahead and grab your fly. We're going to pin it to the right front. So obviously looking at it because it's the right side facing me, it looks like it's on my left obviously, but this is my right side. So I don't want to confuse you. I am going to go ahead and pin my fly. And I have finished all my edges with my serger. Okay, I'm going to put a pin right where I stopped stitching. That's where that dot was. You're going to go ahead and stitch this down using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. You're going to stitch from the top until you get to your dot, okay? Make sure that you don't catch this other part, okay? So just make sure it's completely free. You don't want to stitch past that dot. Okay, once you have it and you have pressed your seam allowance, you're going to go ahead and clip until you get to your dot. I'm going to go ahead and clip through both to the dot. Okay, now you're going to go ahead and trim your seam allowance. Depending on your fabric, if it's thick, you might not need to. Mine feels a little thick, so I'm going to go ahead and trim. All right, we're going to go ahead and grab our zipper. We're going to place our zipper face down. You want the left side of the zipper tape to extend 1/4 inch past the seam. And you could just sort of place that and look and pin. You also want the very top of it to be at least 7/8 of an inch from the very top edge. So I'm just gonna eyeball that. I'm gonna make sure my left side is extended past that seam line. Let me pin here first. And then you can sort of just look. Okay, I'm going to pin a couple more times just so that I have it in place. Okay, once you have it pinned down, we're going to go ahead and stitch on the right side of the zipper tape through our fly. And you're going to stitch close to the edge of your zipper tape. I went and zipped down my zipper a little bit just so I could get my zipper pull out of the way. And then once I pass it or clear it, I'll go ahead and pull it back up. Okay, so your zipper tape is going to extend. Do not cut it at this point. Just leave it as it is. Go ahead and press your fly to the inside. All right, once we have one side done, we're going to go ahead and on the other side, on your left side, you're going to turn and press 3/8 of an inch, okay? And once you do that, we're going to go ahead and open up our zipper. And we're going to stitch this close to the edge. So I like to do this sort of by eyeballing it and then I'll adjust afterwards. I want the folded edge of my fabric to be pretty close to that zipper, to the teeth. I'm going to go ahead and pin. I'll adjust my pins in just a second. I just want to pin it enough so that I can make sure it's going to lay flat. Okay. So that's what you want to see, right? You want to make sure that it's laying flat and it's not pulling. Once you have that, I'm going to go ahead and adjust my pins. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and stitch close to the edge. So we're going to start at the bottom. Another really good reason to have a longer zipper than sometimes is necessary. We're going to start at the bottom. We're going to work our way up. Okay, you're going to go ahead and backstitch at the beginning and at the end. All right, once you have your left side stitched down, when you close your zipper, you should not be able to see it, okay? Also, we're gonna go ahead and grab our fly shield, and you're just gonna fold it in half. Go ahead to your serger, or if you're using a zigzag stitch on your sewing machine, to clean off your edges, and you're going to stitch along the long side and then across the bottom. So either serge or zigzag to finish off the edge. All right, so now we're gonna place our fly shield behind our left side. So what I like to do is I do a stitching line 5/8 of an inch from the edge. I marked it here with some chalk so you guys could see it. It's just easier for me to know that that's where I'm gonna place my zipper as opposed to trying to eyeball it. So I'm gonna pin. Okay, now you're just gonna head to your sewing machine and you're basically just sewing through your existing stitching line through all layers. Make sure that your pant is completely out of the way. You're just stitching to the dot, up through the top, through all layers, following your existing stitching line. Back stitch at the beginning and at the end. All right, the last thing for us to do is to do our top stitching. So I'm gonna move my underlap out of the way. I'm just gonna pin it because we're only stitching on this side. Okay, so for top stitching, what you're gonna do is, I like to eyeball it, honestly. I just sort of look at it and do it by eye, but I know a lot of people don't like to do that. So if you didn't transfer those stitching lines from your pattern piece initially when you cut out your pattern piece, you can go ahead and grab your fly piece and just fold and press that 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, and you can place it onto your pant if you just want to mark a quick little guide for yourself. It might make it easier for you to do that. Just make sure that you're keeping that fly shield completely out of the way so you don't stitch through it. All right, now we have a finished fly, and we're gonna go ahead and set this aside for just a second and grab your back pant legs. Now with right sides facing, we're just gonna stitch our crotch together. Okay, once you have it pinned, go ahead and stitch this using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, back stitch at the beginning and at the end. Once you have your back seam sewn, I went ahead and pressed my seams open. We're gonna go ahead and pin our inseam. So what I like to do is, right sides are facing, right? I've placed my front pant over my back pant with right sides facing each other. I'm gonna match first my crotch seams to make sure that those are aligned. And I'm gonna pin. And then I'm just gonna pin down one leg and then down the other. I'm gonna pin at my hem. I'm gonna match my notch. Okay, so you're gonna head to your sewing machine and you're going to stitch starting at one hem, work your way up through to the crotch, okay? And then you're gonna start again at the other hem and work your way up again, meeting in the center. All right, I've gone ahead and sewn my inseam, but I haven't serged it because this is a good time to sort of test for fit. So what you could do is you could go ahead and pin your side seams together and then baste them so that you can try it on and see if you need to take in a little bit at the inseam or take more at the side seam for a really good fit. Once you're happy with that, then I would go ahead and finish my side seam with a normal length stitch, and then you can go ahead and serge your raw edges. But this would be the time where you would want to baste your side seams and test for fit. All right, guys, once you have your side seam sewn, after you've test fitted this, I went ahead and pressed my seams just so that I have it sort of looking a little nice as I'm working. Cleaned up my loose threads. Now we're gonna go ahead and attach our waistband. So I went ahead and pressed up on the long unnotched edge 5/8 of an inch, and then I trimmed it down to 1/4 inch. Now we can go ahead and pin this to our pants. It's gonna extend 5/8 of an inch. And just pin all the way around. You can do this by first matching up your notches if you'd like. Okay, once you're done pinning your waistband, you can go ahead and head to your sewing machine. You're going to stitch using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance from one end all the way to the other. All right, so we have gone ahead and attached our waistband. I went ahead also and trimmed my seam allowance, and I pressed my seam allowance up towards the waistband. So you're just gonna fold over, aligning your folded edges, okay? And then you're going to pin. You're going to do that for both sides. Okay, you're just going to head to your sewing machine and you're just going to stitch this closed. You're going to do the other side the same way. All right, guys, so you're going to go ahead and turn to the inside your corner, poke out your corners. And I went ahead and pressed my waistband so that the folded edge is just past my stitching line. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pin on the right side, making sure that I'm catching the inside of my waistband so that I can stitch in the ditch. So you can sort of feel it, right? Because it's a little bumpy, you can feel that folded edge. You wanna just make sure that it's past the stitching line. And I'm gonna pin on the right side. And I'm gonna do that all the way around. Okay, now before I stitch this in the ditch, I want to make sure that the front, when it overlaps, that the waistbands are the same width. It's easy sometimes to not be paying close attention and having one be taller than the other, or maybe not the exact size if you weren't watching your seam allowance carefully. So you just want to make sure that that's nice and even before you go ahead and stitch this closed. Now you can go ahead to your sewing machine and you're just going to stitch in the ditch. All right, guys, once you're done stitching in the ditch, you should have caught the inside of your waistband, okay? Just make sure you didn't miss anything. And the last thing for you guys to do is you're gonna go ahead and make your buttonhole and do your button according to your sewing machine manufacturer instructions. And you're gonna finish off the hem of your pants. Okay, this would be a great time for you to try your pants on. The last thing to do is to turn under your hem. If you like the length of your pants, fantastic. Go ahead and pin out your hem and then stitch it in place. You can choose to do a blind hem stitch if you're using a suiting fabric so that you don't see the stitching. And after you're done with that, you are all done. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that sew along. Remember, if you're not already following me on Instagram, follow @MimiGStyle and also follow @SewItAcademy. And if you make and post my pattern, please use #MimiGPatterns. Until next time, peace.